gave more importance to mind than matter. Incidentally, in modern times, matter has overpowered mind, and people started believing that even mind can be reduced to matter, and even mind can be explained in terms of matter itself. Like I mentioned a while ago, like mind is nothing but an epiphenomena of matter. That kind of thought came about because they felt that mind cannot be captured on its own and mind cannot be theorized about. And given the huge success of material progress or scientific revolution and the technology which science has produced, all these are material successes. So, given so much success of matter that everything seems to be explained by matter, everything seems to be depending upon matter. So probably mind also depends upon matter, that thing has come about. But the basic split which Descartes has created, that did not go away. That is still present in modernity in various forms. This mind-matter dichotomy has created various other dichotomies like public-private, science versus humanities, or tradition versus modernity. All these kinds of dichotomies are result of mind-matter dichotomy thanks to Descartes. Like one example I'll give you. Suppose you go to a doctor. In modern medicine, if you go to a doctor looks at only your body, or he diagnoses your body particularly, and if you have an ailment in your body, he mainly gives a medicine which is solving your bodily problem. I'm not saying there are no doctors who ask you about how did you feel, or are you anxious, or are you stressful. They may ask these questions, but still they reduce all these mental phenomena also to material phenomena. I am speaking of modern medicine. I am not speaking of all kinds of medical systems. But modern medicine fundamentally thinks body and mind is nothing but material. They won't ask questions like, did you have a fight with your wife? They ask mainly questions like, what did you eat? Where did you go? Did you go to an unhygienic place? Or did you eat something harmful? These kind of questions they ask. And the main diagnosis is in terms of matter, material phenomena. So they treat our body rather than our mind. Though at an individual level they may believe that our mind affects our body, but modern medicine as a system doesn't believe that. It doesn't believe, even if it says mind affects body, that mind is again nothing but matter. So it only means that matter affects matter, that's it, nothing else. And that completely subtracts mind from the holistic treatment of the patient. So such dichotomies have been possible that mind cannot affect body. When they mean mind, they still don't know how my fight with my wife may affect me, my health. That is not yet worked out in modern medicine. Like how do my emotions affect my body? That is not yet worked out because my mind is a different thing. Or what did I study? If I study some book, how does it affect my health? That is not yet known. Still, it's a very complex phenomena. How mind affects body or body affects mind. That is not yet being completely worked out in modern medicine because of the fundamental dichotomy between mind and matter and the fundamental belief that mind cannot affect matter. That's it. And then we have another school in Indian tradition called Sankhya, which is Prakriti and Purusha, which basically proposes two fundamental things, Prakriti and Purush. Prakriti is Jada, or the unconscious element of the universe, out of which the entire nature has come about. All the things we see in this universe are out of Prakriti. So it's a transformation of Prakriti. Prakriti transforms itself into all the things we see around us. Purushas are the conscious beings, or the conscious minds, or the conscious selves one way to translate Purusha in English is self. So Purushas are many, but Prakriti is one, and there are many selves in this world, whereas the unconscious thing is only one, and that has transformed into all the variety of things which we see. Whereas the Purushas are unchanging, they don't change. But the Prakriti is reflected in Purusha, so the Purushas associate themselves with Prakriti and think they are Prakriti themselves. And when they realize that they are not Prakriti, when they realize their true self, that is termed in Sankhya as moksha. So, this is one school, and the other school is Jaina school. Other dualist school is Jaina school, which believes in only two things, Jiva and Ajiva. Again, this is also similar, conscious, and here Jiva is not just Atmans. Jiva is living bodies or living beings, and Ajiva are non-living things like matter. So there are living beings and there is matter, out of which entire universe is constituted. And then there is another school called Dvaita, which basically has two classes, which is Swatantra and Paratantra. Like there are beings which are independent and there are beings which are dependent, and the independent beings are directed by the independent beings. The dependent beings are directed by the independent beings. So that's what Dvaita says. I'm not getting into more details of every school because the time is running out. And then we have pluralism. So anything after dualism is considered to be pluralism. There can be 3, 4, 7, up to infinity. So all these things are there. So then there is a school, the schools which say there are 3 basic things which constitute RK. One of the schools is yoga. All of us know yoga as mainly an exercise related thing, but it's not just that. Yoga is an entire system which explains how one can follow some bodily as well as mental practices to attain the highest state. There is something called Ashtanga Yoga where 8 limbs are proposed: Yama, Niyama, Asana, Pranayam, Pratyahar, Dhyan, Dharana, Samadhi. All these 8 stages, when one crosses finally the Samadhi state, that's when one attains moksha or mukti or liberation. So they speak of 3 things: Prakriti, Purusha and Ishwar. In fact, yoga is very close to Sankhya. Sankhya and yoga are called sister philosophies, but there is a slight difference between the two. The main thing is the absence of Ishwar or God in Sankhya and the presence of Ishwar or God in yoga. In Sankhya, it is said that through knowledge one can attain moksha. In yoga, it is said, that is also accepted, that through knowledge and bodily practices one can attain moksha. But another way of attaining moksha is Ishwar Pranam, that you completely submit yourself at the feet of the Lord, at the feet of the God. That if you really do it faithfully, all your sins, all your ignorance is washed away. So that is another extra entity which is added in yoga, which is not present in Sankhya. So yoga is also called Seshwara Sankhya or Sa Ishwara Sankhya. So Sankhya plus Ishwar is yoga. That is one way to understand it. And then there is another school called Shaiva Siddhanta, which also accepts 3 basic entities as the constituting principles of this, or the organizing principles of this universe. They are Pati, Pashu and Pashan. Pati is like the husband, which is the God himself. Pashu is the living beings which are ignorant. They don't know. They are like animals. Pashu basically means animal in Sanskrit. So we are all like animals who don't know what to do. And Pashan is the relationship between him and us, the thing which he uses to control us. So given these 3 things, they explain the entire universe. And then there are people who proposed 4 RKs, like Empedocles is another Greek philosopher who proposed that earth, water, fire and air are 4 basic elements out of which entire universe is composed. And in Buddhism, almost all schools, main schools, they accept 4 dharmas. These are called Paramahantic dharmas: Chit, Chaitsik, Roop and Nirvana. Chitta are the stream of thoughts, each thought is like chitta, cognition, and Chetsika are the colors of each cognition. Within each cognition there are various constituents like memories or dispositions or samskaras or recollection or knowledge. All these things constitute the Chetsikas. And Rupa is volume, the matter, the material things which we see around us, that is Rupa. And Nibbana is Nirvana. Finally the moksha or the liberation which one attains at the end, that is Nirvana. So these four are the basic arche, basic dharmas, paramathic dharmas for some Buddhist schools which are like Sautrantic or some such schools. There are some realist schools in Buddhism, they consider these four arches. And then there is another school called Vaiseshik which considers that there are 7 arches: Dravya, Guna, Karma, Samanya, Vishesha, Samvaya, Abhav. I am not getting into these details because we will elaborate on these in detail in the later half of the course. And then we know Aristotle, the famous Greek philosopher. He has given a category, a set of categories. He wrote a book called Categories, in which he lists some 10 categories out of which the entire universe, everything in the universe is composed or constituted of. We will look a little bit into them also later when we look into Vaiseshik. Then in Nyaya, there is another school in Indian tradition called Nyaya which proposes 16 arches. These are mostly epistemological categories rather than ontological categories. These are categories which tell us how to understand the world. These are categories of understanding the world rather than the world itself. Okay, so we will not get into this also. And then there is another Greek philosopher called Anaxagoras who actually said that there are infinitely different qualitative seeds. Now it is not just type. He is saying there are infinite types of seeds themselves, infinite types of arches themselves. It's not like there is one type and infinite instances of them, but there are infinite types of arches themselves. His argument is that everything should have everything else in it. For instance, he says, when I eat something called rice, how do I grow like hair, nails, all these things which are not rice? Whatever is the cause, similar should be the effect, right? So there should be some amount of hair, nails, bodily organs present in rice also, so that when I eat rice, I am getting these things. Similarly, there is everything of everything in everything, and there are infinite varieties of them. Now one may say, if there is everything in everything, then why am I getting only one kind of thing when I do something, like when I sow a mango seed? Why am I getting only mangoes? Why am I not getting oranges? Why am I not getting elephants? Why am I not getting chimpanzees? If all these are present in everything, if they are present in mango seed also, right? Then he says everything is present in everything, but in different proportions. So that which is present in the highest proportion in a particular thing, it gives rise only to that. So it's a very interesting thought, and this is like the highest arche one can think of, that there are infinite varieties of them. Now we'll go back to zero, which we left earlier, because we have to cover this as well. So Nagarjuna's Madhyamik school, according to it, the number of arche are only 0, which is also termed as Shunyatavad, because it's not really that there is no, it's not really that this entire complex world is coming out of nothing. He basically says that nothing has its own essence. I mean, everything is derived from something else. Now that is derived from something else. So there is nothing which is the basic arche out of which everything else is derived. Whatever you take in this universe, that is derived from something else, and there is no fundamental essence or nature of anything. So in that sense, there is no arche at all. Hence, the number of arche is 0. I know I have said it too simplistically, but this is the closest explanation for now. We need not get into more details. but it is just to tell you how complex each of these theories are. Every single theory here can be taken for at least a year. A course on every single theory here can go on for a year. One theory can go on for a year. So it's extremely difficult to cover everything in one single lecture. So I'll jump to the contents, the main overall overview of the course. So in the course we will look at two things. One is horizontals as well as verticals. This is like industry terminology, corporate terminology. Horizontals are those which cut across domains, and verticals are those which are specific to a one kind of domain. So we look at each of these philosophers and what they did, in general their contributions, and to give you an idea of the understanding of ontology itself, foundational ontology. It is not about this or that topic in ontology, it is about the understanding of reality as such. Within reality, this aspect, that aspect, those we will look at verticals. But reality as such, how people have construed reality, in what all ways, these are all the people who thought of reality. The Greek philosophers, some of them we have covered, some of them we will cover later. All these we will cover in detail later. And these philosophers we will look at a cursory level. This is like the width of the course, but in the course the foundational ontology, the horizontals, one of the horizontals we will go into depth, and that is Vaiseshik. Vaiseshik is a foundational ontology which explains reality using 7 categories, as the list we have seen earlier a while ago. So that we will go into the maximum depth. To give you an example of a real ontology, a hands-on ontology, to understand it in deep. So we will look at Vaiseshik later. That is one of the horizontals we will look at. And then verticals is like these are the topics or concepts which we will look at in the course. But these, we may not cover all these during the lectures. So what we will do, we will try to cover them during the presentation. This course also has presentations. So during the presentations, we will take each of these topics and we will cover them during the presentations in detail. Okay? So each of you have to give 2 presentations in the course, and they have significant weightage. We will look at that in the next slide. So we will cover each of these topics like universals, formal ontology, mereology, form, generative grammar, particulars, and causation, identity, time, space. Whatever topics we can lay our hands on, we will try to cover. So we will cover the horizontals during the course lectures, and we will cover the verticals during the course presentations. So we will try to cover maximum to give you an idea of ontology as such, so that whenever someone asks you about anything about ontology, you will be able to say something at least. Okay? And this is the grading policy. So we have 2 presentations. Each of you should give 2 presentations. Each presentation weighs 10%, and then we have 2 midsems and 1 endsem. Each midsem has 20% weightage, and the endsem has the maximum weightage 40%. Okay? So I hope you enjoyed the class today, and we'll wrap up for today. We'll call it a day, and let's meet in next class. Okay? Bye.